What are you looking for?
The old man that was behind me.
He gone.
No, thank God, because we're going to be talking about spicy shit today.
Spicy. Well, maybe he wants to listen in. Maybe he's interested.
What we're going to learn is that it's all ages. So I don't want to make any judgments, but I didn't want to be sitting out of a family campground visitor center talking about swingers.
Well, maybe it would be like another viewer for our podcast. He'd tell his friends.
I
It's a whole
know.
thing. And then our podcast like goes into some other realm of mental health, but
Thank
like
God you're the
a
only
sexy
person that
realm.
knows where my actual campsite is, or I would have a lot of visitors maybe later today.
Oh, Kim, it depends on how our podcast goes today, but you are
See.
stuck out in the heat today.
Woo!
Yeah,
That's
I'm
why I've
in.
got this like very fancy hairdo going on because what are we? My car says we're outside 37 degrees Celsius. So yeah, I'm delightful today. I smell so good. Good. I'm gonna come to your house and just hug you. Just
Yeah, you can shower first.
exactly like that way. Love it.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, today we're gonna get into some spicy talk, as Kim said. We're gonna have Sue on. She's gonna join us in a second. Anything we should pre-warn our listeners of?
I might mention a ball gag, because that's how Sue and I met. But I keep thinking that song in my head. Let's talk about sex, baby. But we're going to talk about mental health because everything about this podcast goes back to mental health. And who knew that a positive and fulfilling sexual relationship was linked to mental health? Well, Sue McGarvie, sex educator, she knows.
I feel like we kind of knew that, but we don't put it in like the top of like what we think about. Ever since you said we were doing this podcast today, I have push it stuck in my head. Oh, push it. Salt and Pepper really should come and guest podcast host with us.
You know what? You're thinking about pushing, and I'm thinking about all of the really shitty sexual relationships I've had in my life. So there you go. We're going to
Wait,
launch into this and talk about it.
I choose to look at the fun because I've had my share as well. Let's look at the positive side
I
of what
know. And
all the
I swipe left. I'm like, oh yeah, no. Oh, I remember him. No, no, no. Yeah.
I haven't been on an app for like almost 15 years at this point.
Oh, I didn't use an app. I just used what I thought was like basic dating protocol.
That doesn't
Um,
exist, Kim.
what I'm really excited about is talking to Sue about educating men because you know what? Women have orgasms too. And I think a lot of men don't know that.
I feel bad for them.
Just putting it out there.
I feel bad for them. All right. Okay, so let's bring Sue in and we'll start our party. All right, hold tight. Here
Sue
she
Morning from
McGarvey.
your car. Hey, babe, how are you?
Hi, Sue.
I am hot
Hi.
as hell, and it doesn't mean in a sexual way right now. It's like
Yeah,
we're
it's
in
pretty
the
warm.
middle of a smoking heat wave. So I am so delighted to see you. I was just trying to explain to Amy how we met, but I thought that I would share that for our podcast viewers.
Okay,
I'm
sure.
excited.
We've known each other a very long time. Yeah, I know. We
Very
look
long
exactly the
time.
same. I don't know what everybody else is saying, but we look the same. Yeah.
We did look the same. How are you, first of all?
I'm great. How are you? I'm good.
I'm
Besides
good,
being
except
really hot,
I'm
besides burning up, I'm really good. I'm in a good place. I have this charmed life and I try to be grateful.
so let's talk about your charmed life.
Okay.
Um,
Are we ready to go? Yeah.
Let's do it.
yes,
Sure. Sure.
as a sex educator and author and helping other people, I did want to, so I've saved this story for Amy until you were on, is maybe you don't remember this, but in the 90s I did a 5-part series for what was then CJOH TV called Sex in the 90s.
Right.
And I interviewed you because you worked with my beloved Chris Day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chris was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, who
Yeah.
I
We're
love
working
so
with him.
much.
I can't imagine. Oh, I miss working with him. He was great.
I know
Yeah.
he's still so great. He just does some more serious work now, highly successful. I love him. I talk to him almost every day. So I asked you because I listened to your radio show on the way back from working in small town Pembroke, and I would listen because Chris was producing, and so I asked to interview you, and we went on a tour of a sex shop. So I'm 22 at this point. I think we're about the same age. I'm 56,
I'm
almost 57.
I am 58. So there you go.
So, and you took me to, it was Rideau Street
Mm.
here in Ottawa, because I know we get viewers from other cities here in the nation's capital of Canada. And you tried to explain to me about somebody, because there was a mannequin in a rubber suit with a ball gag, and little 22-year-old me was like, why would somebody do that?
Yeah.
I'm not understanding what's happening right now. And that's how we met, over a ball gag.
Over a ball gag. Okay. I wasn't sure how that was, but you were in the neighboring building. I know we run into each other a lot. I know, we've known each other back since the crust of the earth was warm, and although we don't look any different, we're just a little more experienced, a little more seasoned.
Yes, we are more seasoned. So what I was talking to Amy about is that this show is, of course, about mental health, and I wanted to have you on the show because um I believe you're the expert. There is a connection between mental health and sex, and I'm hoping that you can, in the course of this almost hour, explain your views on healthy, happy human beings and the role that sex plays in those lives.
Sure. It's funny that it just came out today because I just about half an hour ago went to the mailbox, and in was this month's Chatelaine magazine,
Okay.
where it's 5 pages of sex and why, how to love your body after menopause, how to be, sexy at all the stages. And there's stories from women in 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, all from Ottawa, all from my group in that.
Really?
I did the article on how to have a better orgasm for that magazine, but of the 4 pages, all of them were from Ottawa, which everybody thinks is the most boring city in the country, which is so not true. But the idea is that you need to feel comfortable in your skin, and it's a celebration of why sex is the joie de vivre, why it makes food taste better and sunshine brighter and put that bounce in your step, and how it, if it's not, every study done in the last 40 years says it's good for you, but it really talks about how you need to stop and really make an effort. And it doesn't happen by default. It just, you think it happens just because it does. And it's libido is far more elusive than people think, but it is far more closely linked to self-identity, self-pleasure, self-awareness, and obviously relationships, blah, 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 blah. So I spend a lot of my time jumping up and down, talking about how are you scheduling it? What are you doing for time? How are you meeting people? Where are you going? What works for you? Are you self-aware? Because it's still astounding to me how many people are, even at this stage of our lives, how many people aren't aware of what's going on between their knees and their waist, or what they would like to be going on there.
So sorry, I got stuck, Amy. I got completely stuck on better orgasm. Hello, what are we talking about there? Better.
Yeah, better orgasms and
Thank
how
you.
you can have it and what you can do if you're not having them.
Oh, hello.
There you go. Yeah. Yes, that was this month's Chatelaine. It's amazing how Chatelaine, how far they've come from,
Right? Since like
Miller Mulrooney on the cover as,
and then like here's your little apron and you're cooking and stuff like
yeah.
that. So you've been
uh,
like such a pioneer in this. Uh, is it getting better? Like since the 90s when we met? Like are people
It's certainly
exploring more?
different, and it's amazing. It's still amazing to me how fast it changes. Like, I remember when we started and I'm on the show, people are like, "What's an orgasm? And if I touch her elbow, will her nipples fall off?" And like all these crazy questions. And then the internet hit and it's boom, and it starts talking, less about fallopian tubes and more about crazy anal and and it changes so quickly. The cultural norm about what is acceptable changes so quickly, and it's really hard for anybody. If it's hard for me to keep up, I'm sure it's hard for anybody to keep up with how fast it feels. I'm You look at all the stuff in the end. If you spend your days on TikTok or you spend your days not managing, you can't navigate that. It just feels like body image, and I can't find my people, and nobody wants me, and all of that.
So
So,
can we just start maybe with the people new to you?
okay.
Is I certainly know there are a lot of women very frustrated because there are a lot of heterosexual men who don't necessarily know how the parts work. And they don't do a really good job at the parts. So how do
They know how their parts work.
oh, they know how their parts work.
Just not ours.
And sometimes they give up in frustration. So if somebody, Sue, is new to you,
Right.
as they're of any age, they could be
Hmm.
70, they could be 25, and they're saying, everybody's talking about this amazing thing, and they're kind of like it's not that amazing. What are the steps that you take as an educator?
Well, again, there is no one size fits all. And I think that more than anything else has, reverberated throughout my career as a sex therapist is like, look, whatever is not working for you, it's not necessarily going to work for the person next to you. You ask 100 different people, you get 100 different answers. But I think the idea is you want to be self-aware, right? Guys, it's their first and favorite toy. They have it all hanging out. You take diapers off 2-year-olds and they're like, look what I have. And it's quite clear. And our stuff is all tucked inside and it's a little more difficult and we're not sure and there's some stigma and you sit around and you never don't talk about it. So you think there's something wrong with you. And I think that piece, it takes women for a while before they're feeling safe and comfortable to go, this is what I want. And you can say to people, and I used to say, look, you're not having sex to have babies. What, you're having sex for pleasure. And they're like, well, it's not that pleasurable. And I'm like, okay, so what is pleasurable for you? And then there's a deer in the headlights look. And the truth is that men and women process sexual information very differently. You ask men about fantasies and they'll give me a laundry list of every kind of sexual fantasy they want and on the golf green and they want to do it on the ski run. And I'm like, nobody does it on the ski run. You can think about that, but nobody, like, try the logistics of that. And then you ask women and they're like, I have no idea. And that is very typical, very, very typical. And then you go, okay, on the kitchen floor while the cookies are baking with another woman dressed up in a furry costume, little Bo Peep, the hunky firefighter. And you go down the list and they go, no, 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 no. Oh, that one. Oh, maybe that one. And again, you have to, they're what's called a responsive, and you've heard this responsive sexuality, meaning they need to be wanted and that you have to start the engine. Otherwise, they're just not going there. And guys have the response, the spontaneous. So you press the door of the elevator and it opens. We're in. And for women, you press the door of the elevator, and it's one of those old industrial freight elevators that you can go get a coffee, and maybe the doors are open by the time you get back, and maybe they're not. So it is requiring that process. And guys I have men talking to me all the time going, Sue, I don't want to come home from work after working all day and have to give her a 40-minute massage. Like, where's my massage? It's not working for us. And that's fair. It really isn't for a lot of people. So trying to find a way to navigate that is difficult. And it's not going to change because it's a million years of evolution.
Because we're all so great with communication.
So good.
Is
So good.
that sounds to me like what you're saying is that we need to be, when they say let's talk about sex, baby, like we actually need to talk.
Yeah, but people don't have the skills, right? I spent a lot of my time talking about dating and how do you navigate that? How do you even find somebody to have sex with? And the ghosting culture is because people don't have the language to say, I'm not interested gently, or this is close to a fit, but not really what I'm looking for, or I would like to kick a bunch more tires before I get pinned down. So they just disappear because they don't have the skills to navigate that, let alone I'm naked and I'm having performance issues, or I'm naked and I have pain, or I'm naked and there's a whole pile of other things. And this is what I'd really like to do, and afraid that somebody's going to call you a freak, that it requires those skills that nobody has. So how do you navigate that? And you don't. So people learn. And right now I was in Berlin middle of May, and I went to a cyber brothel where there are cyber doll. Oh yeah, you should see the pictures. Oh my God, just like these life-size silicone dolls hanging from the ceiling with different heads that you could put on them, and they have rooms that they set up the dolls. And so guys come in at $200 an hour to pay for the dolls. And you go, and then there's a voice that will play the role of the doll. And you write out the script with them, and the actress in speakers will give you the voice of the doll. Yeah.
That's wild.
It was wild. It was wild. It's the
That's
first
me
one in the world.
too.
Yeah.
'Cause my first response was "Qu'est-ce que c'est ça?" But that's to loneliness or to adventure. I'm not sure.
It was a lot of things, and I asked them. I had this great talks with all the lesbian girls that worked there. They're all lesbian, and they said, "Oh yeah, we talked to the dolls, and we washed them, and we dressed them up." And they said it's some guys who are not able to navigate real women, and this is the stepping stone before they can do that. It's some guys who don't want to cheat on their wife, but go there, and the dolls aren't cheating.
Yeah.
It's some guys who are looking to, they want the, they've got the bucket list, and it's anything and everything, and they want to tick that off. But it was really a lot of men who just like, I don't have to navigate women anymore. It's more than porn. I have a life-size doll, and she's warm, and she can move a little bit, and there's a voice talking to me, and I can put her in any position I want, and that's the way it is.
Amy, did you remember to put the warning on this episode?
Warning.
I'm
thinking to myself, are we being
live?
are we being
We're
outsourced?
not. Yeah. Are you going to edit this? I thought, all right, we're just going to go. Yeah.
It's funny,
I'm wondering.
Amy and I wanted to talk about like also the impact of menopause and perimenopause on women's desire, and all of a sudden we're talking about cyber dolls in Berlin. It's like,
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
I didn't mean to. I just was trying to give it as an example.
I love
and,
it. I
and
have
in
a whole
fairness,
list for
I
you.
spend my days talking about sex. So no, it's not my filter, but my idea of, and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. People are like looking at me going, oh, we don't talk about this. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. I
Amy,
should be.
I opened the show with a ball gag and a rubber suit, so it's up
That's
to you
fair.
now.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about now, Ames?
We're
Yeah.
all game. We're game for all of it.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah. I think that there's lots of different things. I mean, one, that's really interesting, but then I wonder if we're being outsourced. It's basically like they don't want to put up with how long it takes for us. They're like, so that's scary, but also interesting at the same time.
Yeah, always
Um,
fascinating.
I mean, I could go in so many different ways. One of the ways that I could go here is hormones for women. And honestly, like if your hormones are effed, you're effed. So it's like I find that a lot of women are having, especially after childbirth and as they get older, perimenopause, menopause, all of this stuff, Sue, that like their hormones are just like super out of whack, which means
Hmm.
that they don't have the desire,
Hmm.
they don't have the like self, like they're not happy with how they look, that all the things have just gone south. And
Right.
like how do we pull out of that? No
Well,
pun
first,
intended.
first I want to say hi to Buddy. I just saw Buddy. Hi, Buddy.
So
Um,
Good
number
here.
two is I said, we've just established I'm 58. I have been on hormones since I was 40. If I knew what I knew now, I'd have gone on them at 35.
hmm.
So I've been on bio. I have had the best gynecologist. For a while I had two. I get my blood work done every 3 months. I watch it like a hawk. I can read my own blood work. I can read other people's blood work. And as a sex therapist, sexual problems are one of four things, right? They're physical, they're emotional, psychological, they're a relationship issue, or they're what I call the habit of sex. You just get out of the habit. You don't feel connected. You have kids in bed for the next 5 years, and there's just that kind of thing. Physical is 50%. 50. So all of these people who finish a degree in psychology and go, okay, well, I'm a sex therapist. I'm like, tell me about your ability to look at the physical stuff. And they're looking at me going, well, I just did psychology. What are you talking about? I'm like, it's half of what I see.
Mhm.
So hormones are massive. And, four minor, four major. The four minor are testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and something called DHEA, which you can get from Amazon.com, not Amazon.ca, but Amazon.com. They'll actually deliver it. And it's what I call the wild card in poker. So if you're starting to see hormonal issues in DHEA in terms of perimenopause, DHEA is a great first start. and go find yourself a doctor, get your blood work, copy yourself, get informed. And and for guys, it's it's testosterone, and they turn into what I call the Archie Bunker syndrome. Although I'm dating myself, right? It's the falling asleep after dinner. You're put on belly fat. You become the grumpy old man, and that's usually, not always, but usually low T. And so you want to do your free, and you want to do your testosterone and your free testosterone, which is the amount available, and really have a look at what's going on there. But it's not rocket science. It's just a measurement of millimeters. And it's, you want to keep it between the boys, right? It's like a little tiny window of what that looks like. But when you do that, it's like, hello, sailor. And those feelings are consistent. But if you don't do it and you just think, okay, well, it's bad, and then everybody says, Sue, it causes breast cancer. I'm like, it was a study done in the 90s that said it caused breast cancer. And I'm sure, yeah, Kimothy's nodding her head. Yes,
Yes.
it doesn't. It's been completely debunked. But unfortunately, because it hit the front page of the New York Times, everybody still thinks it's a thing. And it's actually proven to be healing. And the reason women have all kinds of problems post-menopause is that hormones are healing, right? We're starting to have cancers and issues post-menopause. So if you're not taking care of it, you got a problem. And then you don't have and then you have the seven dwarfs of menopause, right? Itchy, bitchy, sleepy, scratchy, all dried up, forgetful, just, and you're not using coconut oil after you come out of the bathroom. I tell everybody, don't eat the coconut oil in my bathroom because it gets put in, and it's, keeping that raisin juicy and being able to manage those
Did
pieces.
you just say keeping that raisin juicy?
Yes. Yes. You
This
need
is
to do
why I love
that.
talking to you. I love talking with you.
Absolutely. My mother thinks I talk in sound bites, but anyway, it's a whole thing. Uh,
And
anyway,
Ken, just on that track that you were talking about, because in our age group, right, we were told, oh my God, don't take HRT, don't take hormone replacement. Can you get it back if it has
mhm,
died on the vine?
mhm. Yeah, it provided you get on it. Like if you wait 15 years,
Sorry,
they're
but
going to be
what are we getting on?
very reluctant. Yeah, they're going to be very reluctant after menopause to 15 years post menopause. If you're, 68 and say, okay, I finally decided I'm going to go on it, doctors are going to go, well, if you haven't been taking them, what happens is like it's like starting a train, right? You've got this train and it's stopped, and all of a sudden you're getting it going. Well, there's little flakes of rust that goes after the train's been sitting for a long time. In this case, it's little pieces of black that break off, and you're at a risk for a stroke. So you
Oh,
want to stay on it early and often. The minute that you're having problems, run. Go get and I know the biggest problem I see is finding doctors who get it, and I get that that's a real issue. I'm not minimizing that. And if you have the means, pay for it. If you don't, keep bugging them because they will the squeaky wheel. You have to be an advocate for your own health, and I know you are talking that completely because you know all about that, my friend. I know that.
Well, yeah, you could also like a lot of the hormone stuff that I was dealing with because I was dealing with estrogen dominance, which is a
Mm-hmm.
nightmare. I
Mm-hmm.
had to go through naturopath because,
Mm-hmm.
but then it got so much that finally the gynecologist is like, okay, let's look at progesterone, and like was able to like do it. But I had to convince him for almost 2 years, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, what is happening here? So I'm interested to see what happens, but it's like. The other thing I had with maybe we could debunk because one of the things I had about looking at supplementing is the fact that I literally was on birth control for like 20 years or something like that. It went off, then I got pregnant and all those hormones went crazy. And then I got not pregnant and then all the hormones are going crazy. And then I was like, oh God, do I put something else in my body that's a hormone? Like, what do I do? And I think that was my hesitation because my body has been having all these like hormone fluxes for basically since I was a teenager.
Yep. Yep.
It's crazy.
We're not meant to live to our age. Like Kimothy and I would be very in the, 100 years ago, at least in my family, we lived in caves somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like we're only two generations
Hmm.
from doing this. Like we don't have the legacy, we don't have the information, we don't have all the data. And what I do think though is that the hormones that I'm on the bioidentical and I watch it really closely, will put you back to 35. And kind of at that stage where, yeah, I'm
yeah.
feeling, it was interesting. I was at a reunion a bunch of women from a while ago, and we were all sort of teenagers together. 3 of us were on hormone replacement therapy, and the other ones were not. And we looked like the younger sisters of the other
Mm.
women. So it's not just,
Is that because sex makes you glow?
well, no, I think so, but no, it's that it's your skin, it's your hair, it's your brain, it's your tissue, it's your spine, it's all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't take them, I start walking like that old girl because your joints get creaky and it's all of those pieces. And if we have the technology, really look into it. And again, if you've had breast cancer or you've had people in your immediate family with breast cancer, you need to be careful. But it really is protective. And the gynecologist I have saying if she has somebody with breast cancer, she actually gives them hormonal based hormones because they are protective. And the
Mm.
science is pretty compelling. But again, no one size fits all. Read about it, get informed. You're right. Call a naturopath. Start there. If you've got benefits, fight it. If you can't find a doctor, and I get it. Like I've had the same GP since I was in high school, and she just retired, but there was no note. I just copied her on some blood work, and I got a note from like the place where all your medical records are, going, "Oh, she's officially closed her practice." And I knew it was coming, but it's just like I didn't hear from her. You
Mm.
don't, and now I set up another one, but you don't have the ability to do that. And for a
Yeah,
lot of
certainly
people,
in the Canadian medical system, we have unique challenges because I mean everybody talks about what a great system it is. I mean, you both know that I've been in the system for almost 3 years after the car accident and menopause, where I was literally told, you're just gonna have to suck it up because you get migraines. So I did. It wasn't pretty. Oh,
Mm.
it wasn't pretty.
Mm.
But I do want to ask a little bit more about when women feel um balanced and supported, single or whatever, and their bodies feel good. Do you, because obviously I follow you on all of your platforms, do you see that that directly correlates to their willingness at maybe an older age to finally get what they weren't getting before? Because some of the women I know, when they hit 50 and they're balanced and their hormones are great, or they're single or married or whatever, they start to do some really adventurous stuff that for the
yes.
first time in their lives.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
My
time.
podcast tomorrow is going to talk about the biggest growth area in swinging, which is greater than 65, and why those, yeah, because they're baby boomers, and they were the 60s swing, the free love in the 60s, and that's just continued, and now they're saying, well, let's look at it now, and I don't think it goes away. I think that if you are a sexual person, and everybody's a sexual person, but if you've really, really kept that up, you care less. You have less shits to give, and you're like, I may be interested in finding a younger lover, or I may be interested in exploring. Or maybe I've always been sort of quasi bisexual. I think I'd like to explore that, or I'd like to, go to, even if it's just going to a clothing optional beach and just saying I'm going to be less concerned, I'm going to be more comfortable in my skin, I'm going to say the hell with stretch marks. And you must know, I don't know about you, but all of my friends are saying that it's the 25-year-old guys that are writing them online. And because they
I was gonna say a naked beach is pretty much my worst nightmare in broad daylight. I like soft lighting. I like it like a tea candle in the corner or something
uh
like that. But also you're right, because I was probably 55 before I dated my first person who was older than I was.
yeah,
It was very intriguing to me.
that is. And the truth is, Kimothy, you've always had the body we all wish we had. So the fact that you're not comfortable being seriously, come
Me.
on.
The
In
bottom.
your 20s, I've known you all of this long, and
uh,
come on, you were a poster girl. And if you can't feel comfortable in your skin, all of these women who are carrying extra weight or who feel like they've been, I remember after I had my stomach surgery, I scared kids in the locker room. I looked like I'd been cut in half. Like we all have things that we're not comfortable with. I think it's one of I could challenge you to do a body image thing. Come with me to a nude
And
beach.
how do we get comfortable then? Because I mean, you're right. I don't want to be naked in a, like, I was a swimmer, as you know, for a long
Yeah.
time. Like, I didn't want to be naked in the shower room with other women.
Yeah.
How do we get there? Like, what is the process to get to that? Because I do believe that some women, particularly in committed relationships, are actually a bit of their worst enemy, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
nobody wants a tea light in the corner, like they really
No,
do.
no,
How
no,
do we how do we
and their
get there?
partners think they're beautiful, and they would have sex with seat cushions, but like, please touch me, and I'm like, I'm good with it, like, do me, and they're just like, why can I not convince her to see her the way that I see her?
Yeah, well,
My partner tells me,
that's a
I
big
think
that's a big social bullshit that happens to girls when they're young, but, how do you coach or, help the people who are in your therapy groups to, like, do you wanna go to a swingers event? Do you wanna go to a beach naked? Like, how do you get from it? Because that seems like a really long path.
okay, well, start with, someplace where you can't be naked, like you're on a walk. And you say, hey, I was reading this Chatelaine article today, and they were talking about women at different stages. There's a great couple, I know them very well, in their 50s, who talk about they were going to go to a clothing optional cruise, and it turned out to be a lifestyle cruise, and what happened at the cruise, and where it's gone from there. But just to say, I was reading an article. I was listening to a podcast. I was doing this. What do you think of that? And being able to sort of open that up, and vulnerability is a superpower. So if you're not able to be vulnerable with your partner, it's trying things that do. And maybe it's if you can't even do that, then go back a step. Go to a scary movie, go whitewater rafting, go something that gets your adrenaline up, where you are bonding again, go wilderness camping with them, where you have to do things together that gets your adrenaline up and bonds you as a couple. And then say, can we play truth or dare? I'm going to pull out little, like, let's put in all the things and let's mix them up. And I'm going to pull out questions that I got from a list. They don't know if they're ones that you've thought of, or they've just came off a list. I just printed the list and I've cut them up and I've put them in a little bag and we're going to pick one. And oh, could you imagine being in a hot tub with another couple? Yes or no? Oh, or there's a website. It's not a great website, but it's the best of a lot of them, called Mojo Upgrade. And it's, you put your email address, your partner's email address, and you go through a list of questions, right? Scale of 1 to 5, I like my earlobes being licked. I'm like, I don't know, maybe a 2, right? You know, and you go down the list, and then the website emails your partner your answers. You don't even have to talk to them. And then you can say, can we discuss our results, please? And the rule is no judgment. You cannot go, ooh. You have to say, may not be my thing, but if it's what you want to do, the rules are, if I can, I will try. Otherwise, I won't do anything really abhorrent to me. And then you start those conversations. And if you can't do that, you get somebody like me to facilitate it, or you start saying, what are we going to do? Can we just read an erotic book together? What can you do? And you go down the list of things that are the least intrusive to the most intrusive. I have like a list of 50 erotic things to do in Ottawa, and people can go through the list and go, no, hell no, Sue. That may be fun. And just see from mild to wild what you want to try. And if you can't do that, then it's time for, like, it's like going to a nude beach. If you can't put your towel on, because the rule is no bathing suits. Because if you can't have a towel around you, get to the side edge of the water, drop it and get in, and get out and grab your towel, you're not ready to be there. But most people can think, okay, I can do that. I don't have, it's clothing optional. I don't have to be around. I can just have a preo around me. Little wrap, little, those cotton squares of fabric.
Are you comfortable with all this?
Very. Yeah, I was a kid that you couldn't put clothes on. I've been at nude beaches. I spent 15 years at nude camping in Calabogie. I was skinny dipping all day yesterday. So there you go. I have spoken at most, I'm in a committed relationship. But I spent 3 months working for hedonism resorts in Jamaica as the sex therapist because I was willing to be naked, asking people morning, noon, and night what was going on with them, what's their story. And everybody, my job was to talk to them to find out why they were there, what their story was, so they could take information back to the resort. Fascinating stuff.
In the
And the
city.
truth is, oh yeah, they fall into 3 categories. Bunch of people are there. just to go and have a sexy atmosphere, just make out like rabbits with their partner, be able to be like just be themselves, but it's a really open, fun, titillating place. And then there's a third of the people where I call bed notchers who are like, we've been talking for 10 minutes. Do you want a bed? You're like, go away, please. It's, not interested. But they are as a whole people who are indiscriminate swingers. And then there's a group in the middle, about 30%, who are hoping something's going to happen. They don't exactly know what that something is. And if they were friends and all the planets were in alignment and it all felt great, then maybe they would explore it. But they don't know how to navigate it. And it takes time and energy to learn that. So that process of understanding what that is a thing. I'm just fascinated by it. It doesn't mean it has to be you. Like I've just been asked to speak at a furry convention. I'm not interested in dressing up like, a puppy or a fox or a kitten but people are and they want to play as an animal and I think that's great. If that's what they want, fill your boots. As long
What
as
always
it's safe
cracks
and
me up about
consensual.
those is they have the trap door in the fur.
Yeah.
They wear the
Yes, they
costume,
have little cutouts in the spots. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
got
yeah,
like
yeah.
a little trap door, and I'm like, practical me. Is that hot? Like, don't you sweat?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I like again, it depends on what you're in. It's not my thing, but I'm sure it's for a lot of people it is. And so
It
you
is. There's a
understand.
convention in Ottawa.
I know in August. I know. It's gonna be
I know.
great.
And the funny thing is, like, we're doing this podcast from Ottawa, and we're often accused of being, the world's most boring city. Apparently, Sue McGarvie, we are not.
No, no,
Poor
no, no, no,
Amy.
no,
I
no.
I didn't brief Amy on all of the stuff that we were going to talk about, so now I'm
Mhm.
feeling really bad because it was like sex and mental health. I didn't
Yeah.
tell her we are going to talk about furries with trapdoors.
I think that Kimothy thinks like I don't have any experience. She just doesn't know all of my experience.
Yeah,
So
and
So
I
yeah,
just keep it close to my heart. That's all.
just so sweet and lovely and such a good
uh-huh.
mom.
Hardly. Hardly.
Uh,
But I mean, you were talking about swingers and we were talking about Ottawa being boring, but there are a lot of swingers in Ottawa and there were a good amount of like clubs and stuff. And I don't know what like because I know that because I've had people in that lifestyle as well, and I know that a lot of clubs closed down because of COVID and now like what
Mhm.
is everybody doing? How do people find this community to
Secret
like
handshake. The secret handshake kind of. It kind of is.
is it
There's
kind of like the half door up in the garage
garage
secret
door,
handshake?
no.
garage door.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They used to say Tide boxes in the window, but no, no, it's they have a ring. There's a couple of symbols if you have the upside down pineapple and things, but if you the black ring on your right hand, not on your wedding ring. That's certainly one.
Okay.
But the truth is at least where we are, they have certainly have groups that have popped up, and you're right. Post pandemic, like there was not a lot that opened up, but there are a lot of house parties that are going on. There's one that's been running for 30 years in the West End, and it's the pool party, especially in the summer, that you always wish you were invited to. It's got a grotto and $150,000 worth of landscaping and all kinds. Oh yeah, it's a thing. There are, the Phoenix in the South End is more of a kink place, but they've got a new one called Probe in the market. It's Probe. I keep thinking it's this alien one, which is yeah.
But
Yeah, so if you look around, there is probably something near you. Go on fetlife.com if you're interested and find out what's going on around you.
but
Yeah.
you do some of this, right? Because when we first met way back in the day, like seriously, like this is the man in my life, like really.
I know, he's a
Um,
good boy.
when we first met, you hadn't developed the social aspect of what you do. Can you explain that for people? Is that you
I
became
started
increasingly interested with introducing people to their curiosities, I think.
Well, it wasn't so much that. I started it 15 years ago just because I kept seeing this desire. I ran a workshop. And the story was I was in Westboro. I was doing this workshop for couples and singles about keeping it hot. Big question you get of women over 30. How do you keep it hot? Right. And it was a large group. And I brought in Mr. Shira, who's one of the big doms in town. And she's this Amazon blonde. And she came in and said, "Oh, what a lovely group. What are you talking about? Why don't you come see my dungeon?" And I went to everybody. That is
I
not an
want to
offer
see
you
the
get every
dungeon.
day. Yeah, exactly. That's not an offer you get every day. Next week, we're going on a field trip.
Nice.
And they were terrified. And I'm like, all right, everybody, gather around. Don't get lost. And click, click, click. Somebody said they followed you like ducklings, and it stuck. And then somebody got a duckling tattoo, and I could never change the name. But anyway, the idea was that we wanted to do date nights, and it was some half couples, half singles, just date nights in the middle, just demystifying this. And it wasn't supposed to be a thing, but it became a thing. But it became far edgier than I wanted to go, especially as the pandemic, before the pandemic. It was like some people wanted to become swingers, and I'm like, go there. That has never been, I'm a sex therapist. I never wanted to do that. But I'm not your parents' bridge club kind of group. So, is there a group in the middle that's trying to do that? And the pandemic hit, and what I really saw the need for it kind of had run its course. And what I really found what needed to happen was this need for people to meet, because I had couples who were like singles who were literally jumping off bridges because they were so lonely. And I thought, all right, let's just put them together in a little Facebook group. Let's have my clients meet each other. Well, 25,000 people later,
Wow.
oh yeah, it's massive. Over 40 Connect is massive because the loneliness epidemic, and there's your tie back to mental health, everybody, and it just became, I just said, okay, we're just, don't be mean. We kick out the mean girls, be local, be real, be kind. Let's just see how it goes. And at that point, the apps were really becoming problematic and soul crushing. And there was a need to help people find their ways. And it's become a little less vanilla because people still we're going on a brothel tour in a few weeks.
Nice.
Yes, there's a brothel in town. We're going on the brothel. So we're going to go to the sex shop
There's a
and do a
brothel in
tour.
Ottawa?
Yes. So we're going on a sex shop nearby for half of it, and then we're going to the brothel and have a tour. And everybody's like, "Oh, I want to come. Can I bring my friends?" And I'm like, "Sure, whatever. Come on out. I'll send you an invite, girls, so you
Yes,
can come."
please.
Yeah, and again, it's seeing it in a way that demystifies it, that doesn't make it look scary. That I'm like somebody's sister, and I am somebody's sister, and I'm like, okay, everybody, we're gonna follow the way and understand what it is and what it isn't. And I promise you, I'm not going to take you to the edge because I don't do that. Like there are places if you want to go, I will refer you. I don't do it. But I'm also not going to say if you're curious. And they do couples massage there, however it works, whatever works for you, or you could rent a room with a shower and have a third person wash your back. I don't care. However that looks like for you. I see a lot of people whose wives have breast cancer or prostate cancer and are looking for support for the partner who's going to spontaneously combust because they haven't been touched. And that is, in my opinion, absolutely wholesome and a way of navigating this. And if you can do it with integrity and take the high road and do it with grace, the challenge is it's hard to communicate and do that. So you need people to help with those tools. And that's what we do.
What did you
I
mean
love it.
edge? What's the edge?
That means is like people aren't like, I'm not going to send you to a creepy place where there are women being exploited, or there is like somebody's going to come and put a tongue down your throat, or do you know what I mean? Like no, I'm
You're not
here.
going to push them out of their own
I
boundaries.
am going to be here. I'm going to keep you safe. I'm going to give you information. Treat it as a field trip. If you choose to go back, you'll have all the information to make an informed decision. That is not what this is. This is a tour. Like we're going to the museum. We're going to go see the Monet exhibit. When I was in Italy, I saw David, and you get to look up at that,
Oh,
you get to look and see it up close. Just because you're seeing a big dick doesn't mean that it's anything but, yeah. Exactly.
I love it because you're
good.
demystifying it, and you're really giving people an opportunity that I have never heard of before, which is amazing. And really just taking it like down a notch that you don't have to jump in the deep end. You don't have to just like, if you have no experience or are not sure, you've got this like structure that you've done, which is amazing, which really gives people a little bit more of the educational aspects of it and gives them like a taste of what it's like and what it looks like and what it sounds like and all the stuff
Yeah.
without them having to like figure it out because, a lot of people that may have interest in the variety of different field trips you do and things like that may never act on it because they're too ashamed or they don't know how to do it or it's too overwhelming or they don't want to have that extra like eyeballs on them. And this is like a fun way to kind of do it with other people that are exactly in the same position as them.
Right. So I'm pivoting from kind of local and individual, and I have started a few initiatives. I have this great podcast turned on with Sue and John. John's fantastic, and we able to articulate that to a wider audience. I have a new site called Nookie College, which is your community college for naughty knowledge.
That.
Yeah, it's going to
Love
be
it.
kind of Ferris Bueller, all of your education, because you didn't get grown up education. You got like some really bad phys ed teacher who didn't know how to do it in a way that's easy. So I can film going to the brothel and then you can say, "Oh, all right, well that's interesting and this is how it is." And it may not be local, but at least I get the information. And then I take people on trips. I've got a group called Playful Coconuts where we go. If you're scared, I've done a women's only group, and okay, guys, we're going to go to a clothing optional place, and we're going to see what this looks like and how do we navigate it and what do we do. And you don't have to take it off. And if you're sad, you can still wear something. Can you be topless? What can you do? Or we go to just different things. I'm going to do one in Mexico in November where we're doing a tour of a local swing club where I have a tour for the day and you get to come with me and follow me along and nobody's going to touch you or be mean to you or anything like that. And you get to see it and you go, holy smokes. So it's about bigger things to try and leverage that. That's what's going on.
You know what I love about you, Sue, and I've loved you for a very long time,
We love you too, babe.
is I worked for a company doing it's an Ottawa company, but doing conferences and things in Amsterdam.
Right.
And what I love about you is that I was there with a whole bunch of men, and then so they wanted to tour the red light district. This was my third time because I was there as a kid, and then they want to go on a
Hmm.
tour. You know, as one of few women there, you're like, yeah, I'm going to be at the restaurant across the street. Um, but I have toured it because I
Hmm.
was curious about it. What I
Of
love about
course.
you is that you never talk about exploitation. You talk about healthy relationships. It's not like literally there was a tiny person dressed as Smurfette. And that's when I walked away going, "Oh my God," because she was being completely
Exploited. Yeah. And marginalized and
um,
commercialized, commodified
it
before
was
for
it
who
was
she is.
completely
Yeah.
sex trade industry. What
Yeah.
I like about it, and what you talk about is that this is about normal, healthy
Hmm.
beings who do not want to exploit other people. I mean, I was in Cuba and I saw like North American men buying sex trade workers, and I was just repulsed by it around our pool. So this seems so healthy. Do you still run against any kind of people are uncomfortable with what you do, or do they
Oh
just go,
yeah. Oh yeah. Crepes. Yeah. People still think I'm like this, this crazy. Like I see what I do is super wholesome. I keep taking medical courses. I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I really don't get it that people are so anxious about what I do. But that's their stuff, not mine.
right,
So I think that no matter what it is, you can educate people about it and you can do it in a way that is stand up. And it's always been my model. I was offered, I could have joined the porn industry. We had one of the biggest porn manufacturers in the country here in Ottawa offered me jobs a couple of times. And I'm like, I can't go there. Are you kidding? I don't care what the money's like. No, I can't do that. And it's about finding your way. I thought I was going to deliver babies when I started, and it's evolved into this because nobody else was like, I just didn't understand why it was such a judgment thing. I didn't see people as, there's this line from Exit to Eden. And when I met Anne Rice, I asked her about it, and it was in sort of in the front cover of my agenda.
you
And it
met
was like, I
Anne
just don't. Yeah, like back when she was in Ottawa and she was here. The whole citizen story was about me interviewing her because everybody's asking her about her headdress. And I'm like, I have about 20 questions. Let's go. And about the sexuality that she writes and about talking about being able to say, I don't process that they're wrong. I really don't. I really, really don't. I have very clear rules. Again, if you cannot consent, and we talk about that a lot. If you can't consent, it is wrong. If you're choosing to, but because you don't have informed consent, is that choice? I don't know. I would be really interested in talking to your Smurfette. But again, I've met lots of women. Like I met, Asia Carrera, who is a porn star, and she said, I performed at Carnegie Hall. I went to MIT, and I'm going to retire when I'm 30 from this job where I put them in high yield mutual funds. And this is what I want to do. And I'm like, how do you say that that's exploitive when you've talked to somebody and did that? I interviewed Tara Patrick, one of the world's most famous Hall of Fame porn star. She was brilliant. She's my new friend. When I go to near her, I'm going to have lunch with her. She was fantastic. It doesn't mean that. And then you can meet somebody in your neighborhood who gives you the creeps. And it doesn't matter who they are, it's about how they carry themselves. And you need all that information in order to make what feels right for you where it doesn't hurt somebody else.
I think we end there. I think this has been amazing, Sue. Thank you so much
No
for
problem.
all of your information, for coming on, for demystifying and destigmatizing some of this. And I'm hoping that our viewers get some value out of it and realize that it's okay to be them and figure out what works for them.
Damn Skippy. Yeah, be
Oh,
them.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, if you're watching us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and notify. We'd be grateful to have you along for the ride. And until next time on the Inner Shift podcast, we'll see you then. Thanks very much.